My sister-in-law hid my shoes to keep me from taking walks. I had offered to stay with Maya and her three little monsters while her husband, Raj, was off working overseas. I lived 20 minutes away, so it wasn't a huge commute, but I figured a few days of help would give her a breather. She welcomed me with coffee and a grateful smile, and I settled into the spare bedroom, ready to jump into diaper changes and bedtime stories. The first morning I noticed a pattern. Maya kept glancing at my shoes by the front door, then at the clock and finally at the kids, as if she were measuring how long I'd be gone. "You're going for a walk again?" she asked, half joking, half serious. I told her I like to clear my head with a mile-long stroll each day. It was my routine since October, rain or shine. She laughed, but the laugh didn't reach her eyes. "It's not really a mile every day, is it?" she pressed, and then, "What would you do if you broke your foot? Would you get anxious if you couldn't walk?" I brushed it off, thinking she was just being a bit absent-minded, but the comments kept coming, each one a tiny probe into why I needed that hour of alone time. I started offering to watch the kids while she exercised, hoping to turn her critique into cooperation. She shook her head and said she was too swamped, that she needed me to stay with the children instead. Then on the third day I couldn't find my shoes. I searched the hallway, the kitchen, even the laundry room, but they were gone. Maya emerged an hour later, humming to herself while the kids chattered around her. She pointed to the back door and said, "You must have missed them." I stared at the empty spot where my sneakers should have been, feeling a cold knot tighten in my chest. I asked her why she'd hidden them and she shrugged. "Just thought you'd notice when you left." I took my walk anyway, the shoes still missing, and when I returned I told her that her little stunt wasn't funny. She crossed her arms and said I needed to see a therapist because I apparently had an obsession with walking. I laughed a little too loudly, and replied that I already had a therapist, and that she might need a new one if she thought my routine was a problem. She stared at me, eyes narrowing, and finally asked the question that cut through the fog. "Why does it bother you so much if I want to take a walk?" I answered honestly, "Because I'm supposed to be here to help you with the kids, not disappear for hours." She sighed. I felt abandoned. "I thought you were using the kids as an excuse to get away." That night, after the kids were finally asleep, Maya and I sat on the porch with mugs of tea. She confessed that she'd been feeling overwhelmed, juggling 3 energetic children and a husband halfway around the world. She'd interpreted my walks as a rejection, a silent signal that I didn't want to be present. In her mind, hiding the shoes was a desperate attempt to keep me from slipping away. We talked about boundaries, about how help can't be a one-way street. I explained that I needed my walks to stay mentally healthy, and that I'd be happy to schedule them so they didn't clash with her schedule. She admitted she'd been scared of losing control, of having to ask for help herself. We agreed to set a clear routine. I'd take my walk at a set time, and in return I'd be fully present for the kids the rest of the day. The next morning my shoes were exactly where I'd left them, neatly placed by the door. Maya smiled, a genuine one, and said, "Let's stick to the plan." I stepped out, felt the crisp air on my face, and walked the familiar path that had become my sanctuary. The mile felt lighter, not because the distance had changed, but because the tension had lifted. In the weeks that followed, the walks became a shared rhythm. Maya would wave from the kitchen window as I left, and I'd return with a story about a squirrel or a sunrise that she'd love to hear. The kids learned that Auntie's walk was a regular part of the day, not a mystery to be solved. The lesson settled over me like a quiet tide. You can't force someone to be there for you if they're only using you as a babysitter. True support requires honesty, clear boundaries, and the willingness to let each other breathe. And sometimes the simplest act, leaving a pair of shoes untouched, can be the first step toward that understanding.